Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gold Advantage. I am your host Nikita. With me, Big Money Blibs, and we are here to cover the LEC season finals.
Hell yeah!
I don't know. Is this the finals that actually matters, or does this one not matter either? Because as much as I'm a fan of the new format, I do think that the titles don't mean as much as they used to.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this matters very much from the perspective of getting into Worlds. So, both these, both
Well,
of
no, they're both
these,
into Worlds.
both these teams are
They're
in the
both
Worlds,
in
but
Worlds.
this is
Where in Worlds?
correct.
Yeah,
And this is why now we're going to be having BDS at Worlds, right? This wouldn't have been the other way without this.
Well, BDS is facing off against Golden Guardians,
which is
for that world spot, which is
so
an exciting.
Literally,
It's
two of our favorite teams.
Yeah.
This, I think I've won you over. I've definitely won. Or well, I don't know if I've won Scott over, but collectively, from a best of three network podcast perspective, we've embraced BDS as this kind of underdog team that we just enjoy watching. They're not the best team.
Yeah, big time.
Exactly. And so
no,
but in the same fashion, I think we feel the same way about Golden Guardians. And so to me, this is kind of like a best of three matchup in Worlds, and I am excited.
I'm excited, and I'm particularly excited because I kind of feel like Golden Guardians are the more well-rounded team.
More well-rounded.
So my BDS excitement kind of has peaked and dipped. Unfortunately, I was like BDS exciting, and especially winter into spring, I was like, okay, I'm into this. Summer, I feel like the team as a whole, outside of Crowny, has just kind of fizzled out. That's it. I was gonna say mellowed out. It's not mellowed out. But you know when you're a kid and it's I would say New Year's, but I think for you guys it's 4th of July. You get the sparkler sticks, and
we
a kid, you're so fucking excited. Yeah. And you're waving it, and you're trying to touch it, and maybe you try to spell something out, and you tell your mom to do the O in love, and you write out cock. And it's a great family thing, and it's very exciting. And then it's out, and you've done the whole packet, and you're like, what now? That was such a whoa. And I think that's BDS.
Well, unfortunately, this BDS team needs to get back up. They need to get another pep in their step because their season's not over.
Yep.
I think going back to the weekend, again, if you're following this podcast, if you are watching our vlogs, you are making money, right? This is going to a chef's kiss, exactly how we're calling these matches, which is to say we had over 4.5 BDS Fnatic. And we definitely thought Fnatic was going to be the winner. But we absolutely fucking nailed it. And so
we did. And we also said, look at line by line. Don't trust BDS, but look line by line. Pay attention to drops. That's my one kind of there were times, especially game 5, where I think BDS had the better draft. They just weren't able to close it out. So that's that kind of finished up there. Overall, continuing this conversation. So BDS Fnatic, what were your takeaways from it?
I feel like my takeaways from any BDS match are always kind of the same, which is to suggest bloodthirsty but disorganized, right? They have such good teamwork, and then especially early game, and then the late game always seems to just avoid them. And so to me, and this is something that we're going to get to when we talk about the odds, but at the end of the day, this feels right in that Fnatic is moving on. Fnatic was the second best team all summer. They are now back in a position to put themselves in the playoff finals against a G2 team, where this is kind of feels like the same song and dance from the past 10 years. And so as always, Mad Lions is typically a perennial at this point, a perennial playoff performer. But this feels right. The game was kind of ugly. We love to see it go 5 matches just from the cash perspective. But I don't know. What did you see?
I think you kind of nailed it. It was ugly.
Yeah.
That's really what I take away from it, in that Wonder in the top lane seemed to get back in his groove as the games went on. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. It just kind of like, so he wasn't a weak link. There's definitely some drafting issues, and some of them are for sure around the top lane. I think he just played Renekton and Ornn, so he's only had a few days. The team has only had a few days, so I don't begrudge them that. But there are other aspects to their drafting that raised a few question marks for me. But overall, it was just messy. It just didn't particularly feel great. Razor played really well. I was very impressed with him. Noah had flashes of brilliance. Humanoid was there, which is kind of what I guess he needs to be. And
he was just consistent.
But this is what I mean.
Humanoid is consistent.
But there's this kind of, I feel like Fnatic went from like, ooh, Fnatic looks kind of good, and then boom, no, it's like a metronome going like back and forth, and you're just hoping you end on the right tick. And that it just didn't fundamentally at its core and fundamentals, it just didn't look that clean, and that that concerns me.
I guess
and especially when you sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say, I would say the one thing, and it especially came out in Game 5, in my perspective, is just Fnatic's the better team. Like when you look at the statistics, every single player at Fnatic's has over 10 assists or 10 assists or more, right? Double-digit assists.
Yeah,
that is unique, right? That doesn't really happen all that often. And to have all 5 players have at least 10 assists, you just kind of saw the better team advance. I do think that BDS has some, like honestly, if you're BDS, if you're another team, you're just kind of shopping for BDS players because you can go in and like there are really good players.
I don't know about that. I kind of like I want Crowny. Right. I don't even want Labrov. This has been his worst year.
I was not going to say Labrov.
Okay,
that is a drastic, but
yeah, okay.
I just think like Adam is another player who's just like kind of like you can kind of want to go in and select other players from the BDS team and like make your team better. Because it seems like a bunch of individuals who aren't completely on the same page. To your point about Labrov just like underperforming, especially during the summer, maybe turn it around. But like I don't know, this to me the right outcome, the right team is there.
I agree with that. I think that's a great way of putting it, and I think you like I said, you nailed it when you said it was messy. Yeah. I just don't. I think the thing is I leave this, and when we're going into the following match, which is Fnatic Mad Lions. You're right. Fnatic was the better team in terms of rankings throughout the split, but at this point in time, I would say that Mad Lions is the better team. They look more cohesive.
But that is.
To an extent, like I also think they're not great, to be honest. They lost 3-1 to G2.
I thought they'd. The only thing we missed last week was me saying they're going to win Game 1. They actually won Game 2.
Yeah,
it made it look very competitive there for a minute.
They did. Well, that's what I mean. I actually feel like Mad Lions put up a better showing than expected in some ways. At the same time, my God, their macro is horrendous. It is so bad. Some of the decision making is so bad.
Which to me is coaching.
It's like they're an NA team. No, it's not. It's not their coaching. It's like you have like 3 storied veterans on your team. Actually 4 essentially. Yep. You have you have Niski mid lane. You have Elyoya at one point MVP contender.
Carzzy.
You have Carzzy. Carzzy's an ADC, so he's just
pointing.
So that's fair enough. Like, you have some guys who are veterans, proven veterans, winners. But my God, some of their decision making. At one point, I think this was Game 3, where they basically gave Tristana mid caps just a chance to take a whole turret, and that was it. That was like it put him so far ahead, put him back in the game, and from there he just.
Well, Tristana can when he snowballs, it's just so fucking lethal.
Tristana's ridiculous. And actually, well, here's the thing. Look, by the way, if you see Karthus Tristana on the same team, I think that's just a blind bet on that team. Separately, and this was discussed by a couple of analysts, without Trist mid, I don't think Karthus is that great. But if a team lets both of them through, I think it is so strong. But, going back to Mad Lions, just they are a team there was some egregious misplays out of Chasey in the top lane. I've gone back and forth on him. But the whole team, the whole Mad Lions team just doesn't. Elyoya is not playing like MVP level or potential MVP level Elyoya. Kazi's putting up good things, but I think, and what I'm talking about is not about the matchup between the two. It's about when they face off against G2.
And I think some of it though,
seems so much
better for Elyoya to not be really like doing the farming that is necessary, just like not really building up his champion in a time that is required.
A lot of it is meta. Yeah, it's a bad meta for him. I do appreciate that, but nonetheless, the macro calls, the decisions when they have a lead, it just feels like G2 it can mess around. And like, to G2's credit or discredit, I don't think that they are just messing around and making these games look competitive. I think they are trying to win, but I think they are looking to win. I think they're trying to limit us somewhat. I'm a bit concerned about G2 at Worlds, but we'll have to see. I don't want to get into that too much. But the Mad Lions win, essentially what I want to take away from it, I thought Mad Lions played better than I expected them to. There were 2 games, that obviously the one they won, but that was a very weird draft out of G2, so we can split on that game one. 4. But I think game four, they looked solid. They threw it with terrible macro. But it was there. So this takes us now to Mad Lions Fnatic. And I have Mad Lions at a 2.02 and Fnatic at a 1.8 underdog, or favorite, sorry. And in my opinion, Mad Lions is absolutely the better team. They came from the upper bracket. They've looked more complete as a team and more cohesive. And despite their macro failing, I think their macro failed against G2. I don't think Fnatic played so messily that I don't think they can take advantage of Mad Lions' bad.
I always want to put like a little bit of a caveat when it comes to Fnatic playing messy around BDS, which is to suggest that the way that BDS plays kind of forces teams to be messy, and therefore I'm not sure is indicative of the quality of the team. I do think that though this line is coming straight out of the how did they perform in the summer when we've seen the most recent matchups. Fnatic has won those, and Mad Lions was not as good. Like they barely made playoffs to begin with. Now, to the point that you said, kind of like right when you started the conversation about the Mad Lions BDS or Mad Lions G2 game, this is a Mad Lions team that always knows how to crescendo at the right point. We've seen this year in, year out. They don't play as well at the beginning. They get the feels for their team, and then they start to really come together. They just make playoffs. And then when it comes to playoffs, when it comes to games that are not just best of one, they really do well. And so to that point, I think we're both going to absolutely love the 2.02 underdog nature of this Mad Lions team.
Yeah.
I'm going to be putting a significant portion of my my allocations from the past couple weeks on that Mad Lions win. And just a straight up money line. And honestly, like, I'm trying to like think of other bets, but like, why go crazy when you know that you're getting that kind of value with a team that I think we both agree is just the better team at this point in the season.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the, I want to bet, let's say like 3 units on a Mad Lion.
Totally.
That's where like chunk of my change is going there. I'm confident that you're getting 2 times odds. It's a good one. The risky bet
-1.5
is I actually think the -1.5 for Mad Lions at a 3.37 is worth putting a unit on that. I just think overall, 100%. Like we said, Mad Lions looks good. I can totally see this being a 3-1. Yep. I think it might be a close 3-1, but a 3-1 nonetheless. Sure. I could even see it actually being a 3-0, by the way. But so I think
you want to say
-2.5? No, I'm a little bit too. I can see Noah pulling out a massive win. I can see a bad draft. I can see too many.
They're way too inconsistent. You don't want to put like a little half a unit.
Maybe a little. Okay, I didn't see it was 8.02 yet. That's maybe a tiny amount. But that's
the big money move is you have to do
lollipop money. You put a lollipop on that, and you just you buy the beers for the boys for one night. But really, it's the -1.5 at 3.37. I would put like a unit, maybe two units on that. You could just put a bit there, but that's it. I don't think there's anything else. I've looked at it like over on the maps. There's certain things there, the kills, handicaps, all of this. You can grab some of those depending the drafts. So again, it's always worth watching the matches live, paying attention to the drafts. You have a very good parity essentially between the teams at 1.97 for Mad Lions, 1.85 for Fnatic. So if someone gets, let's say, if Fnatic gets Tristana Karthus, it's like, hey, jump on that, grab it. Okay, they get Ivan, Frist, I don't know, Zaya. Great. We'll do that one. That's not a problem. But overall, I think you don't try and outsmart yourself. Bet on the money line. Take the good odds on the -1.5.
You ready for this outsmarting of myself? If you look, and this is just to play devil's advocate with you a little bit.
Sure.
Fnatic beats XL 3-2. Fnatic beats BDS 3-2. This is a Fnatic team that's living raisin-thin margins, but sometimes like that's the kind of adrenaline a team needs in order to really come out and perform. Why would we not take the bet that keeps on paying, the over 4.5 at 2.27 for this matchup, and that way you can kind of sit back and just say, I honestly don't know who might finish this out. There's a part of me that is nervous. Like, I just like don't know if Mad Lions is going to play G2 again. Like, I just don't know if I'm listening to the story writers, and we always know they're undefeated.
Yeah,
the story writers kind of see this magical, lower bracket run for Fnatic, and as Scott always says, storylines in esports are undefeated, and so why would Fnatic not come in and get another 3-2 win in the lower bracket run to then take on G2 in the this classic matchup between two European juggernauts? That's the argument. That's the rebuttal.
Yeah. I see your argument. I can see where it's coming from. I would say if that's the case, if that's how you're going to bet, and you're betting strategically, then you drop the Mad Lions money line, you take the Mad Lions -1.5, and you bet the over 4.5.
I don't.
That's how you.
I agree. I don't think Fnatic's winning this 3-1. I don't think they're winning this 3-0. To me, it's either a Mad Lions -1.5, or it is the over 4.5, which is significantly better odds than taking the Fnatic money line.
Sure. Agreed. I don't disagree with that. I think that's the mic drop. There's nothing better there. However, briefly, and I'm not going to go into this, I just think G2 is a better team out of both of them. They're playing well, meta's working, they know what they're doing. Well, they're drafting,
you know what the philosopher says?
Focused.
If you're G2, then you hope that Fnatic wins, because it's fucking impossible to beat the same team twice.
They'll smash Mad Lions. I actually think if it's Mad Lions, it might be a 3-0. But yeah, I think and I don't think there'll be great bets on that. I think it's just going to be so skewed in the side of G2. So that wraps it up. This is a short, snappy.
I love it.
Short and tight. And this will be wrapping it up before we start looking at Worlds, which is exciting. Yeah. And what's even more exciting are the people that like and subscribe and then follow the link to our Discord. Best. We'd love to see you there and to talk to you about things there. But that wraps it up, and thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Soon. Toodaloo.